Hello, and welcome back to another episode of You Are the Masterpiece. And it's me, Irina Portnova, in the studio. And I'm so grateful for each one of you who is tuning in live or somebody who is going to watch in the replay because there is something great that we are going to talk about. And today I have my dear guest, Sarah Spark. Sarah, welcome, and thanks so much for coming.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm so happy we finally made this happen.
Totally right. And can you just share a couple of words about you and what you are doing in this world?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So, I'm a relational and spiritual coach and teacher. And I do this very holistically. So, clinical hypnotherapy, spiritual teaching, somatic work, breath work. I like to incorporate all facets of mind, body, and spirit. And really, my goal here is to help us connect with our true inner selves and heal the ego parts of us that are getting in the way of us stepping into the truest version of ourselves, basically.
I love it. I love it because we are like so connected with our the ideas and everything what we are doing. So definitely there is a treat for everybody who is tuning in because today our topic of the day is going to be heal, reveal, and rise. And Sarah, you are the expert in that, especially for a lot of people who do not understand the word of heal. Because if I talk to common our people, they are like, oh, I'm okay. Nothing is wrong with me. I don't have to heal. So a lot of people associate the word heal when they are like really, like having
Really
some
ill.
pain, right? They do not like really connect it to healing, meaning that it's also something within ourselves that blocking us from having what we desire. Can you just dive a little bit on that?
Yeah, and this comes back to the word trauma, right? I think it's a really
Mhm.
big word that gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people don't like to put themselves in that category where I have trauma and I have healing to do. When the
Mhm.
truth is that if you're living this human experience, you have healing to do. We all do, and it will
Mhm.
never be done. It will never be complete or finished. We will all be on this continuous healing journey. And actually that is what I think part of the purpose of life is to pursue the path of healing. What's the purpose of healing, right? In order to get us to our truest selves, whatever that means for you. But that's the whole purpose. Otherwise, we would have no desire to heal because there's something on the other side there that we're seeking to connect with. But I think a lot of people don't like to think that they're broken,
Mhm.
and that might be the initial block that people have towards healing. And I don't like to think of us as broken as at all either. Like
Mhm.
I resonate with anybody who has that stigma around I'm broken, I need to heal. In fact, I don't think that what healing really is fixing something broken. It's fixing something injured. And we have
Mhm.
all been hurt. We have
Mhm.
all been hurt from life, mostly in relationships. The source of
Totally.
all of our pain comes from our interpersonal dynamics with other people. If it were just
Mhm.
us, well, it'd be quite boring, but we wouldn't necessarily have that pain because nobody would be there to observe and inflict it upon us, quote unquote.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, if we've all been in interactions with people, which we have been since the time of birth, then we have some sort of injury along the way that needs healing.
I love what you share. And that's why I called my podcast, You Are the Masterpiece, because we do not have to be perfect as long as we are making the effort. So we are all work in progress and we can be masterpiece at the same time. Because once we realize that it's all about just growing and evolving and becoming a different version of ourselves, that's what life journey is all about. And the
Hmm.
more we tune into that, the more we realize it, right? And like you mentioned, we all have some healing to do. Everybody got hurt one way or another. Somebody is more like maybe they had some kind of traumatized experience with the health.
Yeah.
Somebody had something in their childhood what they are processing through. And
Yep.
majority of people like myself, I had hurt a lot of times in my relationships, love
Yeah.
relationships. So there is always something. And it's about just, like really taking away that ego where some people are just walking away and say, I know it all. I don't need any healing, right? I'm good where I am. Again, it's just like not allowing yourself to go within and start really asking these deep dive questions, because a lot of people are living, they do not want to really dig inside because they know it's going to be painful. Once they sit down with themselves and ask these important questions, like, what is there something that I would love to experience in my life? What is there that I can't stand anymore and I'm ready to change?
Yeah.
But again, these are deep questions and they are required the inner work. And a lot of people are not ready for it. So they just navigating in their 3D reality without even realizing that there is something more to them.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole, you mentioning, um I heard arrogance and I don't need to heal and these types of things. Even that is another egoic part of us
Mm-hmm.
that is protecting us from something, from pursuing that path of healing, right? The ego wants to be right. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily want to be happy. The ego wants to feel intact and right. And my identity, I have to defend what I think my identity is. Right. So if I admit to myself and others that I need healing, then that is the first step of the ego saying, I'm not who I think I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
something, I might be something else. And I would like to figure out what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Because this version of my identity that I'm so attached to is no longer comfortable. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually very painful. So even people who say, I don't need saving, I've heard this actually. I've heard this. People say, I don't need anybody to save me. I don't need healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, that's where we go towards the healing. Like that is your first inclination that you actually need healing. And
Mm-hmm.
again, there is nothing wrong with this. We all need it. But if there's an arrogance in the way that says, I'm perfect just as I am, which none of us are, by the way, right? There's this whole kind of like new age movement where it's you're perfect as you are, everything's perfect as it is. And the truth is that if that were the case, then we would all be in utopia
Mm-hmm.
and we'd have no level of suffering or discontent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not perfect. And that is actually the perfection. The fact that it's not perfect and there's something to work towards. The
Mm-hmm.
moment there's no longer a higher level or something greater to work towards, we are slowly dying inside.
Absolutely. And you know what, Sarah, I love that expression. I'm flawsome. I'm awesome with all my flaws. So
Yeah.
kind of accept that you have
I'm
these flaws
flawsome. I
and
like
just,
that.
yes, flawsome,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just, like enjoy and embrace every moment of it, right?
Yeah,
And again,
exactly.
it's it's all about accepting who you are and just striving for something better.
Hmm.
And can you just share a little bit about your personal story? Like, how did you tap into the healing for yourself?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, my story is my testimony, and it's really the basis of where my whole mission in life, purpose in life came from. My pain has become my purpose. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
dealing with trauma from a very young age. My parents split when I was very young, and my dad disappeared. He kind of just left. We had no idea where he was. And I grew up in a blended family with a lot of conflict, high conflict household. God bless my parents because they were just doing the best that they could. But a lot of fighting, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of no space for the children to have emotions, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
became from a very young age, I became the family mediator and family counselor and this little young girl who was just trying to bring everybody together. No, let's love, let's love, let's love, inclusion, all this stuff. Meanwhile, I was dying inside and I
Mm.
had no way of understanding or reconciling this within myself. And so I developed a pretty severe eating disorder from a young age, cutting myself, and ended up being hospitalized twice for this. From there, I got involved with the wrong crowds in high school, drinking, partying. I ended up being raped in high school and kind of, you know, I ended up being jumped by a group of girls. So bullying,
Mhm.
I've really dealt with it all. Fast forward into my adulthood. Um, all of this dysfunction and trauma that I experienced earlier obviously had not been resolved or healed within me.
Mhm.
And so I attracted the types of partnerships that would perpetuate that level of pain.
Mhm.
Um, Dysfunctional, abusive relationships, mentally, physically, sexually, and ended up in a narcissistic marriage for 5 years until I finally found my power to release myself of that. And So my healing journey has been since I was what, 4 or 5 years old up
Mm-hmm.
until now, where I continue
Mm-hmm.
my healing journey. All of
Mm-hmm.
this that transpired, though, it was growing in me, it was birthing in me this intense, intense passion to be a part of helping others liberate themselves from their own prisons. Because I felt like, I mean, girl, I felt like I was in prison in my own mind and my own self, and I wanted out. Right? There's got to be freedom. There's got to be peace. There's got to be another way of experiencing life. So, yeah, I worked with myself. I was a growth addict,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, connected from the very beginning. And finally, I have an understanding of what all of that was about. Um, but it was one step at a time for me that just continued to evolve my own healing journey. It was first focused on the mind, a lot of learning and
Mm-hmm.
growing, and then a lot of force. And then I learned the kind of softer feminine side, getting into the body, getting into the subconscious mind, spiritual aspects of healing. And it all came together for me over the past, what's it been, 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Such a beautiful story. And thanks so much for sharing. And I totally agree that our pain becomes our purpose and
Hmm.
our passion, right? And when it comes to word heal, what the things that I can relate to everyday humans who are not very much awakened to exactly to have the awareness what our life is all about. For me, what comes to healing is everybody has the moments of anger, right? So there is always something to heal, right? The anger for to someone, or they have the people that hurt them in life that they can't forgive. And let's talk about, forgiveness is a huge piece, because if we
Oh,
cannot forgive another person whatever they've done to us, understand we all have these people in our life,
yeah,
otherwise we wouldn't exist, right? But
that's right.
it takes the work to really go in inside and forgive these people, understanding that these people actually gave us some catalyst for our growth.
That's right. Yeah,
Right, when we are learning to be patient, when we are learning to be compassionate, and when we are learning to stand our boundaries.
that's
So
right.
it
Yep.
doesn't mean that we have to like them, we have to deal with them, no, but we allow them to have their own journey, while understanding that whatever happens happens, and we cannot
Hmm.
change the past, because a lot of people are sitting and dwelling on the past, not realizing that each time they think of these people who hurt them, they're actually giving them their energy rather
Well,
than just
that's right. Again, this is all about releasing oneself, right? I
exactly.
release I release myself of this burden. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to, and a lot of people think, well, I have to do something now. There's really not a lot that you have to do unless you feel
Mm-hmm.
truly called to it. Your heart feels truly called to it. But in forgiveness, especially from deep, deep pain, what you're really doing is you're setting yourself free,
Mm-hmm.
because that is such a heavy weight. And trust me, I know this because I've been betrayed a lot, I've
Mm-hmm.
been hurt a lot, I have been used a lot, manipulated a lot, and this, it is a perpetual thought cycle of ruminating in this past experience of what if, and I want to say this to them, and so much left unsaid, so much left undone. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
know, I want them to admit all these desires. I want them to, and none of it ever really happens usually. And so we have to really start taking full ownership of
Mm-hmm.
our internal freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have some deep mother wounds. And I realized at some point that I'm not going to get the closure that I need from her.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be my own closure. So
Mm-hmm.
I think something very powerful for the audience to hear is that when we take full ownership, and I mean full, I don't mean 99%, 100% ownership of our freedom inside, that does not mean that people are not going to mistreat you. That does not mean that you're going to have to be buddy buddy with your enemies, but it does mean that you won't have to suffer in what they have produced on you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes a perfect sense. Yes, Sarah, thank you so much. And that's true. Like somebody might have this, like forgiveness to do to their parents because they had, the childhood trauma, like you mentioned, right? I was very fortunate. Like my parents were the best parents, and they are. We are very close till that point. And
That's
for everybody,
wonderful.
there is something. Yes, there is something for everyone for us to forgive somebody, right? And I love how you said we take the ownership 100%. So we cannot change the other person, but we can change the way we perceive the situation.
That's
And we
right.
can change when we free ourselves, because I'm working with manifestation clients. And forgiveness is a huge piece to that, because I always tell them, in order for you to manifest what you desire, you have to release that anger, release that resentment toward the people that hurt you in the past. Because what happens,
Yeah.
your energy is just get stuck, and it's not circulating freely, so you cannot really manifest what you desire, because you're still holding on to something that you just have to drop.
Exactly. And because I work a lot in the subconscious mind with hypnosis and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
the quantum field, we're talking about time here, being not linear,
Mm-hmm.
but being a spectrum of time. If a lot of our energy, our subconscious energy is stuck in the past, and yet we're like, I'm trying to move forward, I'm trying to move forward, you're literally feeling this pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to move forward. Oh, excuse me, I blocked my face. I'm trying to move forward, and yet I'm being pulled back at the same time. What does this
Mm-hmm.
do? Right? This is tension. This pull
Mm-hmm.
in different directions. It's so much tension. There's not a possibility for you to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, yeah, girl. Hello, Cindy.
Hi.
So it really is about closing doors of the past, releasing, cutting those cords, so that we can actually, our physical body, our spiritual body, our energetic body can all move forward cohesively, right?
Mm.
Otherwise, with this tension, we actually experience physical symptoms because
Mm-hmm.
part of me is back there, part of me is trying to go forward. This
Mm-hmm.
tears, this tears my spiritual body, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
not whole, right? Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually fragmented. I'm a fragmented version of my whole self. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Right. I love it. So when we talk about healing, can you give a couple of tools or tips for people? What is the good way to start? For instance, if somebody never heard of such a thing as, okay, I only go to the doctor when I need to take care of my
Yeah.
teeth or I need to take care of my body. So what exactly would I have to do in order to start my own healing? Can you please just share something?
So this is such a personal journey, right? And it's hard to give like, here's your recipe. Here's your recipe
Mm-hmm.
for healing. But I will tell you the ingredients that everyone is going to need in order to fully heal. We need to heal on 3 different levels. Well, 4, but we'll talk about 3 today. Body, both parts of the mind, and spirit. Spirit meaning the energetic part of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a lot of times when we experience trauma or pain, the first part of us to become disconnected is our body. Okay. We disconnect from our body, meaning we feel disassociated. We may even feel outside of our body. We may not
Mm-hmm.
even be able to feel fully our body sensations. But the truth is that the body is the instrument to which all pain communicates. It communicates to us. The body communicates to us what is wrong. It's my check engine light, right? My check
Mm-hmm.
engine light comes on. I don't just say, turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
I take it to the shop to get it turned off. I take it to the shop and I say, help me find out what's wrong. Okay, so the
Mm-hmm.
body is the first tool that we use. And this is what I use with all my clients in all my retreats. Everything begins with the body.
Mhm,
We find parts in the body that don't feel um, well. They feel
mhm,
maybe tense or pain. And we let the body lead from there. The body will show us then in the mind, in the subconscious mind, what is ailing us. And again, this is a very lengthy process, but it's actually very simple. This is what meditation does,
mhm,
right? This is what meditation um, fundamentally is. You're still, you're connecting with your body. You allow your mind to communicate with you in a still way, and then your spirit gets healed.
mhm,
Right. So one thing that I say has changed my life is implementing regular practice of meditation.
mhm. I love it. Yes, meditation
But
is also good for our nervous system. When we
that's
feel
right.
stressed or anxious, just to go within and connect with ourselves, knowing that there is always that peace and tranquility if we choose to connect with that.
But again, right? So the question, I'll answer your question more specifically now because you just reminded
Mm-hmm,
me. You asked
mm-hmm,
me, what can we do to start our healing?
mm-hmm.
Number one step you can start to do is turn towards your emotions rather than try to shut them off. All
Love it.
feelings, all emotions are a signal that there's something going on. And they have so much information for you. So like earlier you talking about anger. I actually really love anger
Mm-hmm,
when we can get what it's trying to tell us, right? Because anger it's such a beautiful emotion because what it tells us is some very beautiful things about ourselves, our values, our desires, our likes, how we actually view our own worth, right? If
mm-hmm,
I get angry about something, it's probably because I've either been devalued and I know my worth is much greater than that, or something's not right in the world, like righteous anger, right?
mm-hmm,
So here's my tip for anybody is begin today by getting super, super curious about all emotions that arise within you, even the negative ones, actually, especially the negative
mm-hmm,
ones, because all this healing happens is inside, right? I'm not going to heal you.
mm-hmm,
Your doctor's not going to heal you, even though they say that they can. Nobody is going to heal you except you. I can guide
mm-hmm,
you, and that's what my
mm-hmm,
job is, guiding you towards healing you. And that's what I view all of our jobs are as healers or teachers or practitioners or whatever that may be. But to find that healing source within, you must start to get curious about what is actually happening with all that's going on inside of you.
mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. So, step one, connect to our emotions and start observing what really is
Yes.
happening in our body.
Yes. Yep.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And
So, this is,
you'll find when an emotion comes up and it's very strong, when you
mm-hmm,
pause instead of trying to just bulldoze through it or
mm-hmm,
get it to stop, distract yourself, if you pause and actually like tune into it, you will find it in your body. Right?
mm-hmm,
Where do most people feel stress?
mm-hmm,
Shoulders, chest, sometimes even stomach. Where do
mm-hmm,
people feel sadness? Heart. Oh my gosh, heart.
mm-hmm,
Even sometimes throat. Where do people feel
mm-hmm,
anger, right? And there's actually a map. I show this at my retreats. There's a map of a human figure with the spaces lit up on each part of the body where when they're feeling a certain emotion. In other words, where do we feel specific emotions the most?
mm-hmm.
So when you tune in, you'll find it in your body instantly.
I love it. That's awesome. That's a great start, right? And I think the more curious we become, the more it's like once we start asking these questions, you'd be surprised how these answers are going to
That's
start
right.
coming to
Yep.
us, right?
Yep.
It's almost like, the
Yep.
algorithm. Like if we search for something in Google and
You'll
then,
find
or,
it.
like any social media, and all of a sudden we start getting more of that, more of that.
That's
The
right.
same thing,
Yep.
right? Because the quality of questions that we are asking is going to determine the quality of the answers that we
Yeah.
are receiving. So the
Yeah.
answers are always there. If we have the question, there should be the answer for that question, but it's all about our willingness and openness to hear it and really do something about it.
I'm really glad you brought that up because one thing I just want to mention, just to finish up that thought is do your best. I don't say try because trying is lying. Do your best to stay away from why questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why did this happen? Why me? Why not me? Right? Try to ask more. Do your best to ask more
Mm-hmm.
specific questions like, what is this teaching me?
Mm-hmm.
What am I here to learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
What was my part in this? Like these types of questions will get you to much, much better answers that put the power in your hands rather than why did this happen? And you're like, oh, because
Mm-hmm.
my brain will think of the answer because I'm
Mm-hmm.
worthless and I deserve it and all this stuff. Especially if
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
belief that's in your subconscious mind already. So
Totally. And you know what? I would add just some comment in terms of the journaling, how powerful it is, right? Because sometimes we might not find the answers when we are just asking ourselves, but once we sit down with the paper,
that's
it's
right.
incredible how we are connected to the source, and we start like writing things, and later on we'll be surprised, like, hey, did I just, come up with that? Right? Because that's exactly when we have that connection with our higher self, and that's where we start receiving the answers to our questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, we touched on the point of healing. Now we talked also about how do we really reveal, right? Knowing that we want to heal. Now let's talk about rise.
Yay, my favorite part.
Mhm.
I knew you were going to go there. Yes, let's talk about rise.
So when we talk about first we heal and we look at something that like didn't work for us, we worked on ourselves, we pay attention to our body, we do different practices, we use different tools to understand and be more conscious about the process. Now what's happening in us, right? We are turning to another version of ourselves, right? Because again, coming back to manifestation, when people are saying, when can I manifest what I wrote for myself? And I say, hey, as soon as you become the energetic match for that. Meaning that for
Yeah.
us to have something different that we desire, we gotta do some work, our internal work. We become a different version of ourselves, maybe more bold, maybe more resilient, maybe more confident, right? So all these characteristics that we acquire in the process when we take that beautiful journey actually face that reality, and we actually become that energetic match, because now we are a different version of ourselves. What do you think about it?
Well, so I like to say, good morning, Andrew, and hello, Jackie. I saw you in the chat. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I like to say that we are actually returning to the
Mm-hmm.
divine version of ourselves rather than changing into any other version, right? I actually think that those other versions of ourselves, the egoic, um, hurt, injured versions of ourselves, are the untrue versions of ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so then we've actually shape shifted into something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Upon entrance into this physical world, we are perfect, and we have, our divine spark and this divine version of ourselves. So as we start to heal these things that
Mm-hmm.
have actually changed who we are, we just return back to this divine state, which is beautiful, right? And so we can get deeply spiritual on this one. And this is the
Mm-hmm.
soul, right? This is the soul
Mm-hmm.
of you. So the soul of you, all of our souls have some very common characteristics, right? Compassion,
Mm-hmm.
peace, love, joy, passion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, the majority of the things. Now, from here, all of our souls have a different purpose, destiny, calling, dharma, however you want to phrase that. And so it will just come out in a very unique way, right? As we begin to rise, we begin to notice, well, first of all, we become awakened. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
hard part of the process. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's hard to be awake because you
Mm-hmm.
begin to notice all the things that are so not right with
Right.
your world, with the world. So it's like it's glaring you in the face. But what rising will help you do is it will help you not only become clear on what you're here to do, you will have all the tools, you will be fully equipped to do this,
Mm-hmm.
right? You will have courage, you will have strength, you will have wisdom, you will have power, power,
Mm-hmm.
power. Yes, power,
Mm-hmm.
like true power. Um, and again, this rising, I think, if you were to ask anybody, do you want to rise into your power? They're going to be like, heck yeah. And then they actually begin to do the work, and there's like 10 blocks. I'm afraid of my power. I'm afraid of what it's going to look like when I
Right.
step into my power.
Mm-hmm.
What does
Mm-hmm.
rising look like?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that as you heal, like see people say, like, I'm afraid to rise in my power, because you're looking at it from this lens over here of an injured
Mm-hmm.
self.
Mm-hmm.
As you go through the steps of healing, you're now looking at rising from a whole new vantage point, right? So now I look at rising like, I'm ready to rise. So rising is
Mhm.
such a beautiful, um, courageous act.
Mhm.
And people who rise, I just like so much love
Mhm.
because it's not easy. And even though we say we all want it, do we
Mhm.
really want it?
Absolutely, right? A lot of times we wanted, but then we got scared. And that's why I said it's great when you are not alone on your journey. Because when we are alone, it's
Yeah.
very easy to sidetrack and go back where we were. That's why it's so important to have the community of like-minded people, because a lot of times when we just venture for that journey, nobody understands us in our circle, because people are on their
Yeah.
own journey, right? And they might look at us that we are a little bit cuckoo crazy,
Yeah.
that something is wrong
Yep.
with us. And it's so important to connect with people who are also seeking more from this life, somebody who is on a similar journey, so you always have that support, right? And another
Mhm.
thing is, if you are even partnering with the coach, like, it's even better,
Oh, that's
because
huge.
you also get like that hand holding. You have somebody who believes in you in the moment when you do not believe in yourself, somebody who walked the walk and now they do the talk, because now they know, and they can feel for you because they've been at your place, and now
Yeah.
they're on the other side and they will show you how you can actually get there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Or not. Right. But the truth
Hmm.
is that coaches, all I believe all of us need a mentor or a coach or a something. We
I have
all,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have, let's see, three
Awesome.
in different areas of my life. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so, but the truth is that your coaches aren't perfect, your guides aren't perfect, your teachers aren't perfect, and they may or may not have been through what you have been through. But here's the powerful part about a coach, a mentor, a teacher, a guide, or whatever, is that they're it's so much easier to step up and rise up for somebody else rather than yourself.
Hmm.
So your
Hmm.
guide and your teacher and your coach has an objective viewpoint on what you're going through, and they will have much greater life to speak into you because it's not themselves, right? And
Hmm.
so oftentimes when we're in ourselves, we have a hard time
Hmm.
getting ourselves up. And that's why it's so important to have those powerful voices on the outside. I want to touch on something you said though, of not being alone and
Hmm.
having people around you. I think loneliness is one of the gateway to entries of rising in your power. And let me explain that, because there is an in between space of former self into new self or true self.
Hmm.
And that in between space is a space of deep loneliness or feeling of deep loneliness. You have just um, kind of traversed the waters of old self. You're realizing that that's not who you are, and you're stepping into this new. And so you say goodbye to an old
Hmm.
life with people and places and ideas and all of this stuff, right? You're shedding, you're almost becoming naked.
Hmm.
Okay. You're naked, you're bare, you're raw, you're vulnerable, and you're in this in between space. And however long that gap may be, it's different for everybody, but it's a time
Hmm.
span in which you have a choice.
Hmm.
Do I keep going forward through the desert, not knowing how long this is going to take? It's very uncomfortable. It's very dry. It's very lonely. Or do I go back
Hmm.
because there's people there? There's company there. There's comfort there.
Hmm.
This, I think, is the gateway to entry into into the soul coming into its true self and really being able to step into that. But here's the thing, right? In the desert, you there is so much happening inside of you. You are being molded and equipped and strengthened in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine.
Hmm.
And you're preparing yourself, right, to be ready to receive all that the promised land has to offer you, right? It's
Absolutely.
the biblical
Hmm.
analogy of walking in the desert, wandering in the desert for 40 years, right?
Hmm.
Such a beautiful example. But the truth is that if we are committed,
Hmm.
fully committed, then we will go through the fire, the uncomfortable parts, the really hard parts in order to get to that promised land. But
And I love it.
until you're ready, you won't have that revealed to you, right? So it's
Absolutely.
like in that time of discomfort, you should be asking. If you are in that place, I feel like there's somebody or multiple people watching this that they're in that uncomfortable place. I'm just going to bring some hope and love to you, because if you are in that place, you should be asking, what in me needs to still be refined and molded and equipped and strengthened in order for me to step into this next level.
I love it. And when it comes to the word rise, what I associate this word with is the truth. The
Oh,
truth
say
and
more.
awareness, right? And the awareness, because now it's like a different way. Like
You said the
when
word
I wake
truth,
up.
and I was just like, oh, music
Yes,
to my
right,
ears.
right. So in other words, it's like waking up every day inspired rather than being, like defeated, right? And you feel that we are in power. We do not have to know that people outside of us or the circumstances would dictate
Yeah,
how we can feel, how we can experience the life, right? Now,
power.
everything, we are standing in our power. And
Right.
now it's up to us. We choose every day, right? With every decision that we make, we choose how we want to handle this life, how we want to live, how we want to show up in this world, what do we want to do, and how do we want to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you come to that truth and realize there is so much power within that a lot of people are not aware of. A lot of people are not really using it. And once you step into that power, that's where you are rising and shining bright, and
I
nobody
love
can
that.
dim your light,
Yeah, I
right?
love that you mentioned truth. It's like the truth of who we are. Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is that in any given moment, what we're really doing is we're choosing between ego and soul. Do I
Mm-hmm.
respond to the temptations and desires of my flesh, of my instant, what's going to make me instantly comfortable, right? Ego.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I respond to the desires of my soul, which is usually not the desires of the ego? Sometimes they match, but
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes they don't.
Absolutely. Yes. So like I truly love our conversation. It's like super powerful. And thanks everybody for tuning in, for playing with us, because remember the way our energy works, the more active and involved we are in the process, the more we are directing our focus on what we are creating. So I truly appreciate each one of everybody who is tuning in and also commenting. Just, keep up this great job. And Sarah, to wrap us up, what is the great advice you would give to the audience?
Oh, just one? Oh gosh.
Yeah,
You know,
whatever comes to your mind. It could be more than one, whatever comes to your mind.
yeah. I'm gonna pull on what we talked about earlier, which is the sense of curiosity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we lead our life from a place of curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
we will suffer less and we will find the truth, like you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more, right? And so, my advice to you is to really do honestly assess yourself, right? Do I
Mm-hmm.
really want to know the truth? Or do I just say that I do, right? Am I comfortable in my suffering? Or do I really want to get out? And honestly, really assess yourself. Um, and also, my piece of advice is to stop taking everything so seriously.
I
I
love it.
think a lot of times, even when it comes to healing, it's so serious. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like really focused on my healing and that everything's about me. And then, oh, that was a sign and this is a sign. And it's just like, it's not that serious. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually heal. It can be fun. This is why I love my retreats, because they're super
Mm-hmm.
fun and it's like
Mm-hmm.
profound transformation. It can be lighthearted. So, number one, curiosity. And number
Mm-hmm.
two, don't take yourself and others so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Mm-hmm.
such a finite, limited amount of time on this earth. And there's a quote from Ram Dass that says, you can either, do this with, and it can be a burden, or you
Mm-hmm.
can do it and make it part of the dance.
I love it. And
So
And
let's
I
dance.
also wanted to add what was coming to me, as you said, curiosity. And that's what I'm teaching from manifestation point, right? Because when people are holding on to that desire and like keeping that attachment, and they have the expectations, and if something doesn't turn
Yeah.
out the way that they want, as they keep manifesting, those expectations lead them to disappointment.
Disappointment.
So i
Yeah.
always i always say, let's put the intentions is, what do I intend to have as an outcome, right? And intentions, it's more freely put into the universe. It's sort of like, okay, I am just trusting that whatever is happening in my life is for my highest good. And if something did not turn out the way I want, I'm going to stay curious, like you mentioned, right?
Right.
Curiosity. So we are not like putting any negative reaction to that, but rather stay neutral and ask ourselves, what can I do differently in order to produce a different results? What
Mm-hmm.
could be improved from what I've done in order to create something more powerful, right? So that's the curiosity factor.
Ooh,
And
I'm
the other
so glad
one,
you said that.
yes, yes. And the other one, fun, that's exactly what I talk about manifestation. The more easy going you are, the less,
Easier it is.
you worry about, the less you're like, okay, I have to do X, Y, and Z. The less you attach yourself to that, the more you just enjoy, because people want to have everything today, but understand this is the process, this is the journey, and we want to learn how to love every moment of that journey, right? So it doesn't matter that everything has to materialize right away, but just start paying attention to yourself. How do I feel in every moment? What each experience is teaching me? How am I communicating with people? How am I showing up in this world, right? So it's the journey, it's not the destination. And once you understand that you are going to love it, whether it works for you or not, knowing that everything is still working for your highest good, right? Maybe at that moment it's not going to be revealed, but with the time you will understand why any situation was given to you. But the idea is just, like, treat life like you mentioned, Sarah. Like, I love that book by the Game of Life and How to Play It, by I forgot the authors. I can't say right now, but she wrote that book like in early 1900s. It was a little bit on the religious side, but it was like proving the point that the life is the game, and once we learn the rules, we can play it really well.
I know we're coming up on time, but I have two things that I just want to add to what you
Yes,
said because you've
totally.
got so
Yes.
much going in here. So, so,
Hmm.
so two things, right? You talked about intention. Is intention, when we bring intention into something, is is the energy that we want to bring to the situation, right? It
Hmm.
does not always
Hmm.
dictate what we will get out of that situation, because there are so many other factors that are outside of our control, right? So my intention is to bring this level of me to this situation. And
Hmm.
the chances are that I will get something good out of that are much higher because I'm bringing a good,
Hmm.
positive source of energy
Totally.
to this thing, right? But it doesn't
Hmm.
always mean that it will be what I want. A lot of people
Hmm.
say, I followed my intuition. I was following my intuition and something horrible happened. And I say, well, maybe, perhaps that horrible thing is an essential part of your growth and
Hmm.
was necessary in order to get you to the next level. So just
Hmm.
because we follow our intuition doesn't mean we're going to have pure bliss all the time. It's going to lead us into
Hmm.
like every
Hmm.
perfect scenario that we want.
Hmm.
Okay, we have to throw away our wants and we have to say what do we need. And the part two to that was that you were talking about this fun with manifestation. Here's the thing, right? We're all manifesting
All the
time,
time.
all the
Mhm.
time, everything that we do. And the truth is that manifesting, a large part of that is that the energy that I'm bringing into this is most likely the energy that I will be getting back from whatever it is that I
Mhm.
desire. So if I'm tense and striving and blah, I gotta have it, and taking this energy of almost strife and stress and necessity and lack, then I
Mhm.
am probably going to manifest
The same outcome.
more of that same thing, right?
Yes.
So if I'm really
Mhm.
stressed, then just everything's going to feel that way. So it's like if we want to manifest, we literally have to become the same energy frequency of whatever it is we want to
Mhm.
manifest. If I want to
Exactly.
manifest ease and fortune, whatever that means,
Mhm.
then I have to be in that frequency, right?
Mhm.
So become what you want, and then the intention is the energy that you bring to it in hopes that you'll get a desired result. But
Awesome.
don't always count on it. Thank
Mhm.
you for letting me
Yes.
have a little bit of time to share that.
Absolutely. And I just love our conversation. So come back for the future episodes. Would be grateful to have you. There are so many topics we can touch upon.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody who tune in, because it shows that you care for yourself. You're saying yes to yourself. You really seek more from life. And that's exactly how you are going to be able to receive it, because we make that decision consciously that we want to change and we want to experience a different
Yep.
life. And that's exactly what we are showing by showing up, by playing full out, by doing something about it, right? And
Yeah.
that's exactly what everyone who is listening to this episode, you're here for the reason. And wishing everybody great journey at your life. Continue, heal, reveal, and rise. Thanks so much, Sarah, for coming in, and all the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. God bless.